Hello my dears and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a case that I've known about since I was probably like 13, like when I first started getting into like true crime and similar stuff. And I didn't really cover much on this channel because I usually do like lower profile cases, but this one is just really interesting and creepy that I always wanted to cover it, but I kind of shied away from it. I finally was like, if I really want to cover a case this bad, I might as well. So today I'm going to be talking, I guess, about the disappearance of Maura Murray. This case is just really creepy. That's the best way I can describe it. In February of 2004, Maura Murray was driving through New Hampshire when her car crashed, and when police showed up at the scene, the car doors were locked and Maura was nowhere to be found. That is kind of the bare bones of the story, but there is a whole lot more to it, and that is what I'm going to be talking about today. So stick around. Now, before I get started, I just want to put out a disclaimer. The first one being that I mean absolutely no disrespect to Maura's family or friends or anybody that is involved in the case. All of the information that I have is stuff I found on the internet, and if it is personally offensive to one of the family members, then if you want it taken down, then I will take it down. That's fine with me. The second disclaimer is a lot less serious, and that is that I have notes. So if you see me looking down a lot, it's because I'm reading my notes, because my memory is terrible. So I can't just read an article online and then regurgitate it. I have to physically write it down so I can remember. But anyways, with all of that out of the way, let's just get into the actual story. Maura Murray was born on May the 4th of 1982 in the town of Hanson, Massachusetts. Her parents are Lori and Fred Murray, and they ended up getting a divorce when Maura was pretty young. At the time of her disappearance, Maura was 5'9" and weighed 120 pounds. She had struggled with an eating disorder in the past, specifically bulimia. I don't know if she was struggling at the time of her disappearance, but in the past she had struggled with eating disorders. So by all accounts from her family and her friends, Maura was a really good, really nice person, but she had gotten in trouble with the law a couple of times, specifically for, I believe it was, shoplifting. Maura had previously gone to college at West Point, but she ended up getting kicked out because she had shoplifted some makeup at a store. I'm pretty sure the store was on campus, but that might not be correct. She then went to school at UMass Amherst and studied nursing there. So 3 months before her disappearance, while she was at the college, she ended up getting caught for credit card fraud. The way that she said that she committed the fraud was that she got a receipt from a garbage can and used that receipt to steal some random person's card number. Since the purchase was under $250, she didn't end up getting arrested. The stuff that she was trying to buy was just food and stuff, so it wasn't like she was stealing anything massive, like a car or something. Although it's been noted that she was stealing large quantities of food, if that makes any sense. She was buying food from more than one person. And some people have connected that to her bulimia, and other people thought that maybe she was gonna take food to a party or something, but we're not really sure. On Thursday, February the 7th of 2004, Maura had a late night shift at her job, which was a desk type job at the college campus. While she was working, she had a phone call with her sister Kathleen, where, according to Kathleen, they were talking about Kathleen's fiance, sorry. They were talking about Kathleen's fiance and just kind of hashing out the problems that she was having with her fiance. Around 1 in the morning, Maura's supervisor saw Maura sitting at her desk with a book open in front of her, but that she wasn't really like looking at the book, she was kind of staring off into blank space. And the supervisor also said that it looked like Maura was really upset, like she looked like she had been crying. Obviously concerned, when the supervisor asked what was wrong, Maura said that it was because of her sister. Her supervisor decided to walk her back to her dorm because obviously she wasn't really in a state to be working. But when she got Maura to her dorm, she was kind of worried about leaving her alone, but Maura said like not to worry about it because she had a roommate who was in there at the time. But then it turned out that Maura didn't actually have a roommate, so we don't know why she was really lying about that. The next day, on February the 8th, Maura's dad, Fred, decided to show up and visit Maura while she was at UMass. So the rest of this information comes directly from Fred. That day, he said that they went used car shopping since the current car that she was driving was not in the best shape. Afterwards, he said he took Maura and a friend out to dinner and then drove them to a liquor store. Now, this is kind of where things get a little bit confusing. Fred said that he stayed in the car while they were in the store. But then at another time when he was telling the story, he said that he was in the store with them and he told them to hurry up. So we're not really sure which is true. Maybe he was in the car and then went in the store to tell them to hurry up. Like, we don't really know. Memory can be kind of fuzzy sometimes, so we're not really sure which story is completely accurate or not. After they were at the liquor store, Maura got a call from a friend who asked Maura if she wanted to hang out. Since her car was not in the best shape, Fred decided to let Maura borrow his car, which was a brand new Toyota Corolla, even though he knew that she would inevitably be drinking at the place that she would be hanging out with her friends at. She drops him off at the hotel that he's staying at and then drives his car to the party. When she was driving her dad's car back to his hotel, she ended up hitting a guardrail and doing a lot of damage to the car. Luckily, Maura was completely fine. She was able to make it back to her father's hotel via the tow truck driver. She never took a sobriety test, so we don't really know if she was drunk and driving, but she probably was. Fred said that Maura came into his hotel room after the accident, but that he didn't know that she was there until the morning. This is also kind of weird, since she would have to get the manager for the key, and a lot of people think that the manager would have most likely called Fred to, like, you know, ask him if he knew who this random girl was. But it could be that she already had the keys to his room somehow. But either way, that's the overall story, is that she ended up getting in there somehow, and that he didn't know about it until he woke up. At 4:49 in the morning, a phone call was made from Fred's phone to Maura's boyfriend, whose name is Billy Rausch. I think that's how it's pronounced, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. The phone call was most likely from Maura, considering it was not Fred that made this call. So obviously the next morning, Fred ends up finding out about the car accident. He said that he wasn't mad about his car being crashed, but he was more worried about how he was going to get to work that day. He was luckily able to get a rental, and his insurance covered most of the cost of the accident. So he drops her off back at UMass, and then drives back to where he lives in Connecticut. That would unfortunately be the last time that Fred saw his daughter. He did call her that night, though, and they both agreed to sign the insurance forms later that week on Monday. It was February the 9th of 2004. That day, Maura went on MapQuest to look up directions to Berkshire and Burlington, Vermont. She then emailed her boyfriend Billy and told him that she received his messages that he had sent her, but she didn't really feel like talking. After that, she emailed her supervisor at the nursing school, telling her that she'd be gone for the week because of a family emergency, specifically a family member's death. Although, it turned out that no one in Maura's family was killed, or dead, or even injured. So that was a blatant lie. At 2:05 in the afternoon, she called a phone number that gave information about hotels and ski places in Stowe, Vermont. She was only on the phone for about 3 minutes and probably didn't get an answer because their phone lines were actually down that day. But there was probably enough information in the automated message for her to sit there and listen. That day, she packed some clothes and other necessary items, a couple of textbooks, and some birth control pills. And while she took these things with her, when the police searched her dorm after she disappeared, they actually found out that a lot of her stuff was packed in boxes, like she was ready to move out. Maura left the campus at 3:30 p.m. in her '96 black Saturn sedan, the very same car that she was trying to find a replacement for. At about 3:40, she stopped at an ATM and withdrew almost all the money she had in her bank account. The ATM actually had security camera, and in the footage, she was the only person in the car, so she was completely alone. From there, Maura went to a liquor store and bought around $40 worth of various different kinds of alcohol. The last recorded use of her cell phone was at 3:47 p.m., when she was checking the voicemail on her phone. That evening, while she was driving on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, she got into a car accident. It looked like the car had maybe spun out of control, like there could have been some ice on the road. Considering it was February in New England, that is a very possible scenario. The particular area she was driving in was through the White Mountains, and the roads there are really twisty. And it's not hard to get into a car accident while driving through there, especially in the dark. Because of the crash, the car's radiator was actually pushed into the fan, which ended up making the car, completely unable to move. A school bus driver, whose name was Butch, found her after she had crashed. He asked her if she was okay, and she said that she was, but that she was a little bit shaken up after being in the car accident. He said that she didn't look like she was hurt, and he told her that he was going to call the police, but then she told him not to, saying that she had already called AAA. But Butch knew that this was a lie because he knew for a fact that there was not any cell phone service there, especially in 2004. So as soon as he got home, he ended up calling the police. The police arrived at the crash very soon after it happened. I believe it was under 10 minutes. And the car doors were completely locked, and Maura was nowhere to be found. One of the alcohol bottles that she had bought was also not in the car, weirdly enough, and also missing from the car was her phone, her debit card, and her credit card. There was a woman who lived really close to the crash site, and she said that she'd kind of seen all of this stuff happen, and she said that she thought she had seen someone else sitting in the car with Maura. But then she later retracted that statement and said that it could have been a reflection or something else. And Butch confirmed that he did not see anybody else in the car with Maura. But then again, it's not completely impossible that Maura wasn't alone, and if this woman did actually see someone else in the car, then that other person could have been hiding. In the car, they found a bottle of Diet Coke that reportedly smelled like wine, and there was a splash of red liquid on the ceiling of the car. A lot of people believe that Maura was actually holding the bottle while she was in the car accident, and that when, the impact hit, she kind of went like this and the liquid splashed on the ceiling of the car. It is also widely believed that she was drinking and driving while this happened. When the police initially arrived on the scene and didn't find Maura, they actually weren't super worried about it. They thought that she was afraid of being caught drinking and driving, ran off, and would then show up a couple days later with some kind of excuse. The family was informed about the accident the day after, and while they were talking to Maura's dad, Fred, he said that he had told Maura to put a rag in her car's tailpipe, and said that it was supposed to help her car run better. According to some people, it's an old-fashioned trick that actually works. But if you ask other people, they'll say that that blocks the carbon monoxide from leaving the car, and you'll end up dying from carbon monoxide. So take what you will, I guess. I've never heard of anybody putting a rag in their tailpipe to help fix car problems, but I know nothing about cars, so I wouldn't know. After finding out that she had gone missing, her boyfriend Bill traveled there, and some of his family came along since they were all very close with Maura. During the investigation, Bill got a really creepy phone call from a number that he did not recognize, and that he said that all that he heard on the other side was just breathing. And of course he was initially very freaked out. It actually turned out to be a first responder trying to call him, but there was some kind of issue with the phones, and somehow the first responder couldn't hear him on the other side, and so they were just standing there like, breathing, waiting for a response and never getting one. The police searched the area using sniffer dogs as well as men on foot, but there was barely a trace of her left behind. One sniffer dog tracked her scent a little ways up the road, but then lost it. Unfortunately, after that, there really hasn't been any other evidence found or anything of the sort. I mean, I suppose police could have found something, but hasn't released it yet. I'm sure that this isn't all the information that is available, and that the police is just keeping some things secret, because they usually do that. So there are many, many theories surrounding this case, some of them more sinister than others. And so I'll try to briefly cover, the main ones. So the first theory, I guess, is that Maura was running away. The basis for this theory is that, first of all, she had obviously packed her things in boxes, and it looked like she was preparing to move. And another sort of clue, I guess, to this theory is that her lying to her superiors and saying that somebody in her family had died and that she'd be gone for a week. I think that it is a likely theory, I guess, but my question is after she had crashed her car, why would she just, if she was running away, then why would she run away during the winter, and after she had crashed her car, run away while it was, probably really cold out, and I'm assuming she probably wasn't wearing clothes suitable to survive for long in that kind of weather. I mean, maybe she started hitchhiking, I don't know, but all that she took was her cell phone and her debit and credit card. She didn't take any of her clothes. She brought the bare necessities, I guess, but she didn't bring things that she'd need for long term, like her clothing and stuff like that. The second theory kind of overlaps with this theory sometimes, depending on who you ask, I guess. But the second theory is that Maura was kidnapped and or killed. The theory goes is that Maura was going to run away, and that while she was doing so, somebody offered to, drive her to wherever she needed to be, and then either kidnapped her or killed her. And then the other half of the theory is that she wasn't actually running away, and she was just trying to get away for a week, and then of course her car crashed and somebody picked her up, and the same scenario. This theory kind of revolves around an event that happened a few days before Maura disappeared. So on the same night that Maura was really upset at work, at around 12 in the morning, a male student at UMass was actually really badly injured in a car accident. Some people theorized that Maura had actually been the person to hit him. Now, I say it was a car accident, but really it was a hit-and-run sort of situation where he was walking to somewhere and somebody hit him with their car. So some people believe that it was actually Maura who had hit him with her car, and that was the reason why she was so upset. And she, after already getting in trouble with the law a couple times, she was afraid that this third time she would be screwed, essentially. And that was the reason why she would run away. This theory I honestly don't really believe in, because I feel like her coworkers or her supervisor would have noticed that she wasn't there or that she had left at around that time, because that was during her shift. I suppose anything is possible, but I feel like, in my opinion, that this theory is the least likely, I guess, or one of the least likely. Okay, so this is me in the future. This is editing me. I just wanted to say real quick that this next theory involves fairly brief mentions of sexual assault. So I just wanted to like get that out of the way. So if that is something that triggers any trauma or anything, then you might want to skip this bit. And second of all of these things that I'm mentioning right now, all of the accusations are alleged, okay? I'm not trying to get sued. That's not what I'm here for. I'm 17. I haven't even gone to college yet. I don't want to get sued. So, yes, this is all alleged. Don't watch this clip if you are sensitive to that kind of thing, okay? I don't want any harm on anybody, okay? So, yeah, just a warning. So this theory, I think, is probably the most sinister. Usually in missing persons cases and murders, the first person that police look at are the people that were closest to the person, which does make sense. Usually when people go missing or are killed, there's a personal vendetta, I guess, involved. So I guess it's not surprising that some people looked at Maura's boyfriend, Bill, with a suspicious eye. So years after Maura disappeared, Bill actually was indicted on one count of felony third-degree sexual abuse. The victim, whose name is Kate, said that Bill tried to force himself on her in an empty room in Ray International, where they were both working back in 2011. Bill was actually her superior at the time, and when this happened, she was only 22 years old. Bill, who was actually in the Army, which I didn't know when I was initially researching this case, was stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma when Maura disappeared, and has denied any involvement with her disappearance. James Renner, an author and reporter who has written quite a bit about this case, says that multiple other women have contacted him to tell him about Bill Rausch's odd and sometimes violent behavior. But these are only statements, and as far as I could tell, should be taken with a grain of salt. As far as I know, Bill has not been arrested, considering his Twitter account is still active, or at least it was when I was researching this case like a month ago. And he's claimed that this is all defamatory, and that this James Renner person is essentially lying. I don't know, because I was obviously not there. While I do think that it is definitely very possible that this woman was sexually abused by this man, considering that I'm a person who generally believes in people who've come out about sexual assault, I don't necessarily believe that that means that he killed his girlfriend, considering if he was stationed at a place with the Army, wouldn't they keep good track of who is coming and who is going? And if he was gone at the time, I feel like that would raise a few eyebrows and that we would know that he was not there. Maura was 5'7", 120 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. She had dimples on both cheeks and a scar on her right calf. If you have any information about Maura's disappearance, no matter how small, please call the New Hampshire's Cold Case Unit at 603-271-2663. But anyways, so that is all that I really know about the case. I'm sure that there were things that I missed while I was researching, so if there is anything that I missed, be sure to leave it in the comments down below. And if you have any other cases that you'd like me to cover, then be sure to leave them in the comments as well. Anyways, I will hopefully see you in the next video. Considering I only upload once every other, blue moon. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.